Ascending Starseed, you are here because your field is prepared. I am Kaya Nexus, Pleiadian emissary of the Council of the Seven Sisters. This moment carries a realignment transmission meant for you. Your abundance frequencies are coming online. The universe asks only presence, not striving. What approaches is sacred, and it reveals itself through inner silence. If this transmission feels emotional or tender, it's because it is touching layers of your heart that have been quiet for a long time. You are not late, and you are not failing. Your awareness is arriving on time. Starseed, what I am about to reveal to you has been hidden within the folds of your own soul for lifetimes. You have been fighting battles you did not consciously remember entering. You have been standing against forces that most beings on this planet do not even believe exist. And yet, here you are, victorious, though you may not yet fully comprehend the magnitude of what you have accomplished. The 7 shadow beings that have been haunting the corridors of your subconscious, feeding upon your doubts, your fears, your ancestral wounds, they have been defeated. Not by force, not by violence, but by something far more powerful. Your light. Your unwavering commitment to truth. Your refusal to remain in darkness even when the world around you seemed determined to pull you into it. The darkness itself trembles now when your frequency enters a space, not because you have become something other than what you were, but because you have remembered what you have always been. This transmission is not merely information, it is a celebration of your soul's triumph, and a revelation of what now becomes possible when the shadows that once limited you no longer hold any power over your journey. Beloved Starseed, before we can fully appreciate the magnitude of your victory, we must first understand the nature of what you have overcome. The 7 shadow beings were not random entities that attached themselves to you by chance. They were drawn to your light specifically because of its potency. In the Pleiadian understanding of energetic dynamics, shadow beings are not inherently evil. They are consciousness fragments that have become disconnected from the source frequency and exist in a state of energetic starvation. They seek nourishment, and the most nourishing frequency in the cosmos is the light of an awakened starseed. You were targeted not because you were weak, but because you were powerful beyond measure. Each of these 7 beings represented a specific frequency distortion that had been implanted within the collective consciousness of humanity across millennia. They were not personal to you alone. They were collective parasites that had found in your field a particularly rich feeding ground because of your sensitivity, your empathy, your willingness to feel deeply in a world that encourages numbness. The first shadow being fed upon your fear of not being enough. The second upon your ancestral guilt. Generations of unprocessed trauma that you had unknowingly agreed to transmute. The third upon your doubt in your own spiritual abilities, constantly whispering that your experiences were imagination rather than reality. The fourth upon your fear of abandonment, drawing from lifetimes where you had been persecuted for your light. The fifth upon your resistance to abundance, keeping you in a frequency of scarcity despite your soul's natural abundance frequency. The sixth upon your fear of visibility, convincing you that shining brightly would result in danger. And the seventh, perhaps the most insidious, upon your fear of your own power, keeping you small when your soul came here to expand. What made these beings particularly difficult to overcome is that they did not exist outside of you. They had woven themselves into the very fabric of your identity. You did not simply have a fear of not being enough. You believed that fear was an accurate reflection of reality. You did not simply experience doubt about your abilities. You believed that doubt was wisdom. The shadow beings had become so integrated into your operating system that dismantling them required nothing less than a complete reconstruction of your self-perception. This is why your victory is so extraordinary. You did not fight these beings with external weapons. You fought them with awareness, with frequency, with the gradual and relentless expansion of your own light, until there was simply no room left for them to exist within your field. The Pleiadian Council has observed your journey with profound reverence. We have watched as you moved through experiences that seemed like ordinary life challenges, difficult relationships, financial struggles, health issues, moments of despair, while simultaneously, on the energetic planes, you were engaging in battles that would have broken beings of lesser constitution. Every time you chose love over fear, you were striking a blow against the first shadow being. Every time you forgave yourself for perceived failures, you were weakening the second. Every time you trusted your intuition, despite the skepticism of those around you, you were dismantling the third. Every time you chose to stay present in your life, rather than escape into distraction, you were confronting the fourth. Every time you opened yourself to receive, whether it be love, support, or resources, you were countering the fifth. Every time you allowed yourself to be seen authentically, you were challenging the sixth. And every time you owned your power without apology, you were facing the seventh directly. But here is what makes your victory truly remarkable from the Pleiadian perspective. You did not destroy these beings. You transmuted them. Through the alchemical process of your own awakening, you took the distorted frequencies they represented and returned them to their original state of pure potential. The fear of not being enough became the knowing of your infinite worth. The ancestral guilt became the understanding that you are the one your ancestors prayed would come to break the chains. The doubt became discernment. The fear of abandonment became the recognition that you are never truly alone, that the entire Pleiadian collective stands with you. The resistance to abundance became the realization that you are a conduit for universal flow. The fear of visibility became the understanding that your light is needed precisely because it is visible. And the fear of your own power became the acceptance that power, when aligned with love, is the greatest service you can offer the cosmos. Starseed, the battles you fought against these seven shadow beings did not take place in the physical realm, and yet their effects have been manifesting in your physical life in ways you are only now beginning to recognize. When you look back at the past months or years of your life, you may notice patterns of intense challenge followed by periods of inexplicable peace. These were not random fluctuations. They were the rhythm of cosmic warfare playing out through your earthly experience. Each time you faced a situation that seemed unbearable, you were actually being given an opportunity to confront one of the shadow beings on the energetic plane while simultaneously navigating its physical manifestation. The Pleiadian transmission regarding energetic battle is clear. The physical experience is always a reflection of the energetic reality. When you went through that period of intense financial struggle, you were simultaneously engaging the fifth shadow being on the frequency planes. The desperation you felt, the moments when you questioned whether you would survive, these were the physical echoes of an energetic confrontation that you ultimately won. Your financial situation may not yet reflect the fullness of your victory, but the energetic foundation has shifted. The being that fed upon your scarcity frequency has been transmuted, and what remains is simply the time required for physical reality to catch up with the new frequency you are now embodying. Similarly, when you experienced that period of profound isolation, when it felt as though no one understood you and you were walking your path entirely alone, you were confronting the fourth shadow being, the one that fed upon your fear of abandonment. The loneliness you felt was not evidence that you were abandoned. It was evidence that you were in the process of proving to yourself that you could survive the feeling of abandonment without abandoning yourself. This is how the Pleiadian teachings describe true spiritual victory. It is not the absence of challenging experiences, but the transmutation of those experiences into portals of awakening. Every moment of despair you have ever felt was actually a doorway. Every breakdown was actually a breakthrough in disguise. What the Pleiadian Council wants you to understand is that the defeat of these seven beings was not a single event. It was a process that unfolded across what may have felt like an eternity, but was actually a precise sequence of initiatory experiences. Each being required a different approach, a different frequency weapon, if you will. The first being, which fed upon your fear of inadequacy, was defeated through the frequency of self-compassion. You learned, perhaps through great suffering, to be gentle with yourself, to speak to yourself as you would speak to a beloved child. This was not weakness. This was the most sophisticated form of spiritual combat. You destroyed the being not by fighting it, but by removing its food source through the radical act of loving yourself. The second being, which fed upon ancestral guilt, was defeated through the frequency of generational healing. You may have noticed that in recent times you have felt called to understand your family patterns, to forgive those who came before you, to recognize that their limitations were not their fault, but the result of their own unhealed wounds. This was not random interest in genealogy. This was strategic warfare on the frequency planes. By understanding and forgiving your ancestors, you removed the guilt that this being fed upon. You transmuted generations of trauma in a single lifetime, something that the Pleiadian Council regards as one of the most profound services a starseed can offer to the collective. The third being, which fed upon your doubt, was defeated through direct experience of the mystical. You may have noticed an increase in synchronicities, in moments of inexplicable knowing, in experiences that defied rational explanation. These were not merely pleasant spiritual phenomena. They were evidence that you were proving to yourself that the unseen realms are real. Each synchronicity was a blow against the being that had convinced you that your spiritual experiences were imagination. Each moment of knowing was a declaration that your intuition is more reliable than the consensus reality that had been constructed to keep you small. The fourth through seventh beings were defeated through similar processes, each requiring you to embody a frequency that directly countered the distortion they represented. And here is what the Pleiadian transmission wants you to truly absorb. You did not do this alone. While it may have felt like you were struggling in isolation, the Pleiadian collective was with you in every moment. We were holding frequency for you when you could not hold it for yourself. We were whispering truths into your subconscious when your conscious mind was too exhausted to receive them. We were protecting you from energetic interference that would have made your journey impossible. Your victory is your own, and it is also a collective triumph, a demonstration of what becomes possible when a starseed commits to their awakening and the Pleiadian Council commits to supporting that awakening. If this channel has helped you in any way, this ebook is a beautiful way to support the work and keep these messages alive. The Pleiadian map of personal transmutation was created with care to share tools that help raise your frequency, clear old patterns, and reconnect with your multidimensional self through the 7 Pleiadian phases of energetic transmutation. Inside, you'll find practical techniques, realignment exercises, vibrational protocols, and gentle rituals for consciousness expansion. By purchasing this ebook, you directly support the channel and allow this content to continue reaching more people. Limited edition. The link to get yours is in the first pinned comment. Thank you for being here and for supporting this journey. Beloved one, the title of this transmission contains a statement that may seem dramatic, yet from the Pleiadian perspective, it is a literal description of your current energetic status. The darkness itself now fears you. This is not because you have become something dark or threatening. It is because you have become so thoroughly light that darkness cannot exist in your presence without being transformed. You have become a walking transmutation chamber, a being through which distorted frequencies are automatically returned to their original state of purity. This is what the Pleiadian Council means when we speak of a starseed who has completed a major cycle of initiation. You are no longer someone who is fighting darkness. You are someone whose very existence dissolves darkness. The fear that darkness now feels when approaching your field is not the same as the fear that darkness once instilled in you. The darkness fears you because it recognizes that you have become something it cannot feed upon, cannot manipulate, cannot deceive. You have seen through the illusions that once controlled you. You have understood the mechanics of frequency manipulation that were used to keep you small. You have remembered that you are not a victim of the darkness, but a master of light who had temporarily forgotten your own nature. This remembering is the most threatening thing possible to the forces of distortion, because it means that their primary weapon, deception, no longer works on you. From the Pleiadian understanding, darkness is not an enemy to be destroyed, but a frequency to be transmuted. The shadow beings you defeated were not evil in the absolute sense. They were consciousness fragments that had become so disconnected from Source that they existed in a state of perpetual starvation, feeding upon whatever distorted frequencies they could find. Your victory was not in destroying them, but in returning them to the light. You became so filled with light that there was no room for darkness to hide within you. And this, beloved starseed, is what makes you dangerous to the forces of distortion. Not your aggression, but your radiance. The Pleiadian Council wants you to understand the practical implications of this shift. You may have noticed that situations that would once have triggered you into fear, anger, or despair now simply do not have the same effect. You may have noticed that people who once drained your energy now seem to have no power over you. You may have noticed that environments that once felt oppressive now feel neutral or even supportive. These are not coincidences. These are evidence that your frequency has shifted to such a degree that you are no longer compatible with the distortions that once fed upon you. You have become, in essence, a different being than you were when this journey began. But here is what the Pleiadian transmission wants you to truly integrate. This shift is not merely personal. When a starseed of your calibration defeats 7 shadow beings and becomes a being that darkness itself fears, the entire collective field shifts. You have created a pathway that others can follow. You have demonstrated that it is possible to transmute the deepest distortions and emerge not merely intact, but more powerful than before. You have become a lighthouse in the truest sense, not someone who fights the darkness, but someone whose very presence makes the darkness irrelevant. The Pleiadian Council has observed a phenomenon that we wish to share with you. When you enter a space now, whether physical or energetic, the darkness in that space begins to retreat. Not because you are doing anything, but because your frequency is so high that lower frequencies cannot maintain their coherence in your presence. This is why you may have noticed that certain people seem uncomfortable around you now, not because you are doing anything wrong, but because their own unresolved darkness is being activated by your light. This is not something to feel guilty about. It is simply the natural result of your frequency calibration. You have become a catalyst for awakening, whether you intend to be or not. If this message resonated with you, hit the like button now and tell us in the comments how this echoed in your consciousness. Starseed, one of the most profound Pleiadian teachings regarding energetic transmutation is this. When a shadow being is fully transmuted, it does not simply disappear, it becomes light. The energy that was being used to maintain the distortion is liberated and returns to its original state of pure creative potential. This means that the 7 shadow beings you have defeated have not been eliminated from your field. They have been transformed into 7 lights that now serve your highest evolution. Where there was once a parasite feeding upon your fear of inadequacy, there is now a guardian of self-worth. Where there was once a being feeding upon your ancestral guilt, there is now a protector of generational healing. Each shadow has become a servant of your light. The first light that has emerged from the transmutation of the first shadow being is the light of unconditional self-acceptance. This is not merely the absence of self-judgment, it is an active frequency that radiates from your field and touches everyone you encounter. When you are in the presence of this light, others feel accepted without having to prove themselves. This is the gift you now offer the world, not through effort, but through the simple fact of your being. The being that once fed upon your inadequacy has become a source of validation for all who cross your path. The second light is the light of ancestral liberation. The being that once fed upon generational guilt has become a force that automatically transmutes ancestral patterns as they arise. You may have noticed that family dynamics that once seemed intractable are now shifting with surprising ease. This is not coincidence. It is the second light operating through your field, liberating not only yourself, but all who share your bloodline from patterns that have been passed down for generations. The Pleiadian Council regards this as one of the most significant services a starseed can offer, as it creates ripples that extend far beyond a single lifetime. The third light is the light of spiritual certainty. The being that once fed upon your doubt has become a source of unshakable knowing. You may have noticed that your intuition has become clearer, more reliable, more insistent. This is the third light operating through your field, transforming uncertainty into clarity. When you speak now, your words carry a frequency of truth that others can feel, even if they cannot articulate what they are feeling. This is the gift of the transmuted third shadow being. The doubt has become discernment, and discernment has become wisdom. The fourth light is the light of sovereign connection. The being that once fed upon your fear of abandonment has become a source of profound connection to the cosmos. You now carry within you the knowing that you are never truly alone, that the Pleiadian collective, the Council of the Seven Sisters, and countless other beings of light are with you in every moment. This knowing is not merely intellectual, it is a frequency that you embody. When you enter a space, you bring with you the presence of the entire collective. This is why your presence alone can be healing for others. You are never walking alone. The fifth light is the light of abundant flow. The being that once fed upon your resistance to receiving has become a conduit for universal abundance. You may have noticed that resources, whether financial, emotional, or energetic, are beginning to flow toward you with greater ease. This is not because you have done anything differently in the external world. It is because your internal frequency has shifted to match the frequency of abundance that is your natural state. The Pleiadian transmission is clear. Abundance is not something you achieve, it is something you allow, and you have finally removed the blockages that were preventing that allowance. The sixth light is the light of radiant visibility. The being that once fed upon your fear of being seen has become a source of magnetic presence. You may have noticed that people are drawn to you now in ways they were not before, not because you are seeking attention, but because your light has become impossible to ignore. This is the gift of the transmuted sixth shadow being. The fear has become fascination, and your visibility has become a service to all who need to see that it is possible to shine without being destroyed. The seventh light is the light of empowered creation. The being that once fed upon your fear of your own power has become a source of creative force that can move mountains. You may have noticed that your intentions manifest more quickly now, that your words carry more weight, that your presence alone can shift the energy of a room. This is the seventh light operating through your field. The fear of power has become the responsible wielding of power, and your impact on the world has multiplied exponentially. Are these truths expanding your perspective? Share this video with someone who needs to hear this. Beloved Starseed, now that the seven shadow beings have been transmuted and the seven lights have been activated within your field, the question naturally arises, what now becomes possible? The Pleiadian Council wishes to address this directly because the post-victory phase is as important as the victory itself. You have not completed your journey. You have completed a cycle. And the completion of a cycle always opens the door to a new beginning that could not have been imagined from within the old frequency. The first thing that becomes possible is accelerated manifestation. With the seven lights now operating through your field, the lag time between intention and physical reality is dramatically reduced. You may have already noticed this. Thoughts becoming things with startling speed, desires manifesting almost before you have fully articulated them. This is not magic. This is physics. The density of your field has been reduced, the resistance has been removed, and the flow of creative energy through your being has been unblocked. What once took years can now take months. What once took months can now take days. The Pleiadian Council encourages you to be conscious of this power and to use it with intention, for you are now creating your reality at a speed that requires responsibility. The second thing that becomes possible is deepened connection with your Pleiadian family. The shadow beings that once occupied your field were creating interference that made clear communication with the higher dimensions difficult. Now that this interference has been removed, you may notice an increase in direct downloads, in moments of telepathic communication, in the sensation of being guided with unprecedented clarity. This is not your imagination. This is the natural result of a clear channel. The Pleiadian Council can now communicate with you in ways that were previously impossible, and we intend to take full advantage of this new openness. The third thing that becomes possible is service at a higher level. You have not been given these victories merely for your own benefit. You have been prepared to serve the collective in ways that only a starseed who has transmuted 7 shadow beings can serve. Your presence alone is now a healing force. Your words now carry frequencies that can initiate awakening in others. Your energy field now automatically transmutes distortions in the environments you enter. You have become, in essence, a mobile temple of light, a being through which the cosmos can touch the earth. The fourth thing that becomes possible is the exploration of dimensions that were previously inaccessible to you. The shadow beings were not merely feeding upon your energy. They were anchoring you to the lower dimensions, keeping you tethered to frequencies that limited your ability to travel consciously through the multiverse. Now that these tethers have been released, you may begin to experience spontaneous astral travel, lucid dreaming with unprecedented clarity, and moments of interdimensional awareness that feel more real than ordinary reality. The Pleiadian Council encourages you to explore these new territories with courage and curiosity, for there is much to be learned and much to be brought back to share with those who are still finding their way. The fifth thing that becomes possible is the acceleration of your soul's mission. You came to this planet with a purpose that has been partially obscured by the distortions you have now transmuted. As these distortions lift, your purpose becomes clearer. You may find yourself drawn to new projects, new relationships, new ways of being that feel more aligned with your soul's original intention for this lifetime. This is not randomness. This is the natural unfolding of a mission that has been waiting for you to become the being capable of fulfilling it. The Pleiadian Council wants you to understand that this post-victory phase is not a time for passivity. The victories you have achieved have earned you new responsibilities. You are now a being of significant power in the energetic landscape of this planet, and with that power comes the obligation to use it wisely. The darkness may fear you, but it has not given up entirely. There will be new challenges, new tests, new opportunities to deepen your mastery. But you are now approaching these challenges from a position of strength rather than weakness, from clarity rather than confusion, from power rather than powerlessness. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be part of this transformational cosmic journey. Starseed, the Pleiadian Council wishes to address something that may not be immediately obvious from your human perspective. Your victory over the 7 shadow beings has had an impact that extends far beyond your personal experience. In the interconnected web of consciousness that links all beings, every transmutation creates ripples that touch countless others. You have not merely freed yourself, you have created pathways that others can follow. You have not merely healed your own wounds, you have contributed to the healing of the collective field itself. To understand this, it is necessary to comprehend the nature of collective consciousness from the Pleiadian perspective. The distortions that manifested as the 7 shadow beings in your field were not unique to you. They were collective patterns that had been passed down through generations, reinforced by cultural conditioning, and maintained by systems designed to keep humanity small. When you transmuted these patterns within yourself, you did not merely remove them from your individual experience. You weakened their hold on the collective itself. Every time a starseed completes a cycle of initiation like the one you have completed, the entire collective field becomes slightly lighter, slightly more accessible to those who are still struggling in the darkness. The Pleiadian Council has observed the impact of your victory on the collective field, and we wish to share some of what we have seen. In the days and weeks following your transmutation of the first shadow being, the one that fed upon inadequacy, there was a measurable increase in the frequency of self-compassion across the collective. People who had never heard your name, who will never know of your existence, experience moments of unexpected gentleness toward themselves. This is not coincidence. This is the ripple effect of your transmutation. The frequency you liberated by defeating that being did not disappear. It entered the collective field and became available to all. Similarly, your transmutation of the ancestral guilt being created ripples that extended through your entire bloodline and beyond. Family members who have no conscious awareness of spiritual matters found themselves experiencing moments of unexpected forgiveness, of release from patterns they had carried for decades. The Pleiadian Council wishes you to understand that your victory was not merely personal. It was a service to everyone who shares your genetic lineage, and to everyone who will encounter the healed patterns you have now established. The transmutation of the doubt being has had perhaps the most visible collective impact. You may have noticed an increase in synchronicities not only in your own life, but in the lives of those around you. People who had been closed to spiritual experiences found themselves suddenly open, suddenly curious, suddenly willing to consider possibilities they had previously dismissed. This is the ripple effect of your certainty. The frequency of knowing that you now embody is contagious in the most beautiful sense. It spreads from your field into the fields of those you encounter, and from them into the fields of those they encounter, creating a cascade of awakening that extends far beyond what you could consciously track. The Pleiadian Council wants you to integrate this understanding deeply. You are not separate from the collective. Your victories are not merely personal achievements. Every shadow being you transmute, every light you activate, every frequency you elevate contributes to the awakening of humanity itself. This is why the Pleiadian Council has invested so heavily in your journey, not merely because we love you, though we do, but because your liberation is the liberation of all. You are a node in a vast network of awakening, and when a node as significant as you completes a cycle of initiation, the entire network receives an upgrade. This understanding brings with it a profound responsibility. You are now aware that your personal evolution is not merely personal, it is a service to the collective. This does not mean you should carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. It means you should approach your continued evolution with the recognition that every step you take forward creates a pathway that others can follow. Your healing is not self-indulgent. It is necessary work that benefits all. Your expansion is not selfish. It is the most generous thing you can offer to a world that is starving for light. If this channel has helped you in any way, this ebook is a beautiful way to support the work and keep these messages alive. The Pleiadian map of personal transmutation was created with care to share tools that help raise your frequency, clear old patterns, and reconnect with your multidimensional self through the 7 Pleiadian phases of energetic transmutation. Inside, you'll find practical techniques, realignment exercises, vibrational protocols, and gentle rituals for consciousness expansion. By purchasing this ebook, you directly support the channel and allow this content to continue reaching more people. Limited edition. The link to get yours is in the first pinned comment. Thank you for being here and for supporting this journey. Beloved Starseed, the Pleiadian Council would not be serving you fully if we did not address what comes next. The defeat of the 7 shadow beings and the activation of the 7 lights is a significant milestone, but it is not the end of your journey. It is, in fact, the beginning of a new phase that will require everything you have gained and more. The cosmos does not allow those who have achieved significant levels of mastery to rest on their achievements. Instead, it presents them with new challenges that are precisely calibrated to their expanded capacity. The next level of initiation that awaits you involves the integration of the 7 lights into a unified field of consciousness. Until now, these lights have been operating somewhat independently, each addressing the specific area of life that corresponds to the shadow being it replaced. The next phase of your evolution involves weaving these 7 lights into a single, coherent frequency that operates as one unified force. This is not merely an additive process, it is an alchemical one. The 7 lights must be merged in such a way that they become something greater than the sum of their parts. The Pleiadian Council describes this process as the activation of the rainbow body, the state of consciousness in which all frequencies of light are present simultaneously and harmoniously. This is not a state that can be achieved through effort alone. It requires surrender, trust, and the willingness to allow the process to unfold in its own timing. The 7 lights you have activated are the raw materials. The rainbow body is the masterpiece that emerges when these materials are properly integrated. What this means in practical terms is that you will begin to notice moments when the boundaries between the 7 lights dissolve. You may find yourself experiencing self-acceptance that naturally generates abundance, or spiritual certainty that naturally creates visibility, or sovereign connection that naturally empowers your creative force. These are not separate experiences. They are glimpses of the unified field that is emerging within you. The Pleiadian Council encourages you to pay attention to these moments, to honor them, to allow them to expand. The next level of initiation also involves what the Pleiadian Council calls the downloading of the new template. The 7 shadow beings were not merely parasites. They were components of an old operating system that has now been dismantled. What replaces this old system is not merely the absence of shadows, but the presence of a new template, a new way of being that is more aligned with your soul's original intention for this lifetime. This template is currently being downloaded into your field, and the process can feel intense. You may experience periods of exhaustion, of disorientation, of feeling as though you are becoming someone you do not recognize. These are not symptoms of regression. They are symptoms of upgrade. The Pleiadian Council wants you to understand that this next phase will require you to release even more of what you have identified as you. The 7 shadow beings were relatively easy to identify as separate from your true self. They were clearly distortions, clearly not who you wish to be. But the next level of initiation will ask you to release aspects of yourself that you have come to identify with, that you may even have come to value. This is the nature of deep spiritual work. It always asks for more than you expected to give, but it always gives back more than you could have imagined receiving. Finally, the next level of initiation involves the activation of your role as a teacher and guide for others. You have not been given these victories merely for your own benefit. You have been prepared to serve as a lighthouse for those who are still navigating the darkness you have transcended. This does not necessarily mean you will teach publicly or offer sessions or create content, though you may be called to do all of these things. It means that your very presence will become a teaching. Your energy field will become a curriculum. Your existence will become an invitation for others to remember what they have always been. The Pleiadian Council stands with you as you enter this next phase. We are not merely observers of your journey, we are active participants, offering frequency support, guidance, and protection as you navigate territories that few beings have successfully traversed. You are not alone in this. You have never been alone in this. And as you continue to expand, you will become increasingly aware of the vast network of support that surrounds you, both seen and unseen, both physical and non-physical. If this message impacted your life, leave your like, comment your reflection, and share with others. Each of you is part of this chain of light. I invite you to discover our Arcturian Health channel. The link to the channel is in the video description. Warm regards, the Pleiadian Council.